We thought, well, golly, the United States can do it with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Boy Scouts communicate it with the Boy Scout oath. Guess we can do it.
I joined AutoZone in the fall of 1984. My first assignment was to come up with a store standards guide, a checklist of everything that needs to happen in a store every day. So I had to learn the business. I was on a typewriter, and the things that I came up with were how the customer is treated by the store personnel.
AutoZoners always put customers first.
Always put customers first.
Para los AutoZoners, el cliente siempre es primero.
As long as you understand that, you're going to get our culture.
People that put customers first, and it's people that will make this company last forever.
And the second thing was knowledge of the parts and products so we could advise the customer what he needed and what he didn't need.
We know our parts and products.
We know our parts and products.
The only way you're going to take care of a customer is to know your parts and products in the automotive business.
The third was store appearance. How does the store look to the customer?
Our stores look great.
Our stores look great.
Look great.
Our stores are clean. They're easily shopped.
And then the quality of the products and affordability.
The best merchandise at the right price.
The right price.
Very simple statements, but very powerful all at the same time.
So I narrowed it down to these 4 sections. Peter Formanek said to me, well, Linda, I see you have written the pledge.
The anchor of this organization, make no mistake about it, has been and will continue to be the pledge. 4 clear, simple, concise lines that teach everyone what they need to do to be successful at AutoZone. It's just as meaningful today, if not more meaningful, than the day it was written.
I think there are probably 3 key reasons why this company, in my mind, stands out as different and better. The first reason is culture, the second reason is culture, and the third reason is culture. I think the brilliance of Pitt and the other founders was a recognition these will be the cornerstones of who we are, what we do, how we make a difference.
My original goal, was to successfully build a national chain and create an environment in which AutoZoners wanted to work and thrive. The most rewarding thing about it is it's predominant in AutoZone today. And of course, they're coast to coast, and they're in Mexico, and they're in Brazil, and the execution level and the environment is the same throughout. So really, AutoZoners out there today are achieving my greatest hopes and expectations. So it's real, it's alive, it's for anyone to see by just walking into any AutoZone store.
Can I tell you a story? One night, Tom Hanneman and I were in Phoenix. It was hot as hell, over 100 degrees, and this customer was there, pretty tough dude. His shirt was off, he had a tattoo on his arms, a cigarette dangling out of his mouth, and he was trying to return a part. He turned around and looked at me, and he said, "Hey, you're in management, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." And he took his return slip, and he said, "Sign it, Jack. Every other in the store has." I looked at it, and it required 4 signatures to get a return. Tom and I went to the back room of the store. We worked with a couple store people till about 3 o'clock in the morning. We think we figured out how we could whittle it down to 1, call the Memphis office at 7 o'clock, change the company policy. The AutoZoner in the store is AutoZone to the customer. And that person has to be empowered to act totally on behalf of the company.
Starting in Malone and Hyde, we used to spend endless time trying to figure out how do you instill in people this desire to really want to treat customers right. Every day, somebody will come into the store mad as hell and slam some part down on the counter and say your part's no good. We know from our experience that in 98% of the cases, it's not the part that's bad, it's that the customer has misdiagnosed their problem. So the first thing we train the AutoZoners to do is say, well, sir, that may be right, but let me test your part for free, and let's see if that's your problem.
One day I saw a kid behind the counter offer to test a customer's battery. And later he came up to me and he said, golly, I'm sorry, I didn't sell that customer a battery. He asked for a battery. And I just hugged him. And I said, no, that's the greatest thing in the world because you just sold 100 batteries. He's going to tell his friends, his neighbors, that AutoZone has integrity. We put what it takes to do the job right, those initials, on a little strip of paper and put it by the parts bays. And all of a sudden I noticed people were pronouncing it. Whittaker.
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 W-I-T-T-D-T-J-R.
Whatever it takes to do the job right.
Doc Crane would say, in our business, it's not just selling, it's selling what's right.
Well, there's not enough words hardly to describe Doc. Doc was the master of selling parts, knowing what the vehicles was, and Doc knew customer service.
Try to put yourself in the mindset of the customer. There's nothing worse than getting home, working on your car, and then find out you need a bunch more parts. If you can get your people to think the whole job through, and that's what Whittaker does, okay? So think the job through. What's it gonna take to do the job right? If you can do that, you make a whole lot happier customers.
We have everything to say yes. It's no reason why a customer will leave unhappy. We have so many avenues of saying yes.
When we look at Whittaker as far as ALLDATA's business, we have the same kind of focus as well. ALLDATA is a leading provider of automotive information and software in the aftermarket. We have about 85,000 shops that use our product every day. So for instance, a customer calls us and they've got a problem with the software or they've got a problem with their internet. We actually walk them through, we actually log into their computers, we figure out if they're having a problem with their technology, and then we get them back up and running. So it's the same type of spirit around how do you solve the customer's problem. And even though we're doing it over the phone and we're doing it remotely, we still have that interaction that matters.
Forever, the naysayers have been talking about vehicle complexity and how that's going to dry up the DIY business, but as the car has evolved, so have the resources necessary to figure out how to do the job. The diagnostic equipment that's available in our stores today to help the customer isolate a problem is incredible. I think the future of DIY, I think the future of DIFM are both fantastic.
It's every AutoZoner, whether they're field or at the store support center, pulling in the same direction, making sure that we deliver on our commitment to the customer, whether it's DIFM or DIY, every single day. You really don't divide between commercial and retail. It's the same customer. It's AutoZone's customer. A shop calls at 5:30 with a car on the rack that they have to get a part for because the lady's coming to pick it up at 6 o'clock and they can't find it anywhere. The AutoZone in the store runs it down across town, goes and gets it personally, comes and delivers it to the shop, and sort of saves the day. We have those kind of stories every day in commercial, just as well as retail.
I remember when we promoted our first African American into our supervisory roles at AutoZone. I remember when we promoted our first female into the ranks of multi-unit supervision. Those were way ahead of their times in the auto parts business. I remember when we promoted our first African American officer and our first female officer because they were the right people for the job, and it exemplified the diversity that the company had within its management ranks and its store ranks. To me, those were the most gratifying times.
And so when you walk into an AutoZone store, our culture is displayed from the time that door opens until the time you leave. And I want that to be displayed day in and day out. The atmosphere of people, great people providing great service and just really wowing a customer.
People from all different cultures and different backgrounds want to be part of a winning team. And so that the AutoZone culture has transferred very effectively to Mexico or to Puerto Rico or now to Brazil, where we're just starting.
I remember my first day with AutoZone. I was impressed just by walking into the store. I had never seen in my life a store with so many different products for the automotive market, something that didn't exist in Mexico. The fact is that we're humans, we're people, and our values, our culture is built upon universal concepts and values.
It's a universal feeling and need of people in any work environment to want to feel like they, no matter what level job they hold, they can make a difference. And of course, customer service is appreciated throughout the world.
Pitt High uses the expression ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
I think that's one of the special things about AutoZone. If you have the drive and the desire, AutoZone will open the door for you. It's really not about what you know, it's about the culture of this company, and anybody can be anything in AutoZone.
This is a letter I received from Peter Formanek, who was the president of AutoZone at that time. It says, "Dear Darren, your outstanding example of AutoShack customer satisfaction through salesmanship has made you our first $100 extra miler. Everyone in senior management and all our fellow AutoShackers join me in congratulating you not only on this award, but also on the fine example you're setting for all others."
And of course, the extra miler is another way to recognize and emphasize our culture. An extra miler, and we give out hundreds a week. We like to catch people doing something right. And these come from letters from customers that talk about how an AutoZoner went out and installed the part for them, or stopped by the side of the road and helped them, and so forth. And they get $100, but more importantly, an extra miler pin that they wear.
One of my greatest mentors ever, Phil Jackson, came into the store one evening when I was a part-timer. At the time, my manager and his boss were not necessarily doing what we would expect of them today. The store was overrun with customers. Phil was in regular clothes, and I was really trying to wait on him, but also had about 5 other people to wait on. And he sat back and he watched me for about 20 minutes. I finally got to him, and he said, "You the only one here?" And I said, "No, actually, my manager and my manager's boss are in the office." And he goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why don't you go back there and tell them that Phil Jackson would like to talk to him?" Well, I didn't know Phil Jackson from Adam. As it turned out, he was a vice president of operations at the time. And Phil actually picked up the phone and called me about 2 weeks later and reminded me of our conversation, asked me what I was planning on doing for my future. At the time, I said I had no idea. He convinced me that after school I should join AutoZone full-time, and that's kind of where it started.
You know, somebody can go from a senior web developer to VP of e-commerce in 13 years. I think that's pretty phenomenal and says a lot about the company and their willingness to seek out talent and to enable people to grow their careers. And there's a lot of opportunity at AutoZone, and so I think that's what first attracted me, and I think it's certainly, you know, what keeps me here for sure.
There's nothing greater than looking back and seeing that you've helped somebody develop their career along the way. I know that when long after I'm gone, AutoZone's still going to provide a great future for a whole lot of AutoZoners that I've gotten to know over the years.
The opportunities that this company has for people, even at over 5,000 stores and almost $10 billion in revenue, are actually as good or greater than they were in 1984 when we had 100 stores and we're doing $65 million. You take a guy like me who started off on the parts counter that could become president of the company, Bill Rhodes, who started out as our E&Y audit lead and then became CEO of the company. You can do all the things that you want to do in business and in life if you're committed to it and you're with the right company, and AutoZone's that kind of place.
From a personal standpoint, the level that I've reached or achieved with the company has been very satisfying to me, but the biggest accomplishment that I personally take pride in and that I'll remember all the days of my life are all the people that I had an impact in helping move up through AutoZone. AutoZone is more than just a company. It's a family, and AutoZoners care about AutoZoners.
I believe that if AutoZone commits itself to the culture, invests in the people, and keeps the stores fresh, keeps the spirits of the people that work there at the high level that they ought to be at, I think that'll be your salvation. But the culture, I think, is the only thing you can rely on now, because the marketplace is just crowded with other auto parts stores.
While a competitor can copy your store design, they can adopt your pricing structure, they can do a lot of those things. The one thing none of them have been able to do is to have that kind of customer service that we exhibit.
We are different. We're unique. You know, I often say AutoZone is not for everybody, and everybody is not for AutoZone. If you don't have a passion, if you don't have a level of commitment that is different, this is not the place for you. If you're not willing to go the extra mile, if you're not willing to go above and beyond the call of duty, if you're looking to punch a clock, don't come here. We need the best.
When you're here 10 years from now and you're looking at this video, I'm quite sure that pledge is still going to be hanging on the walls of our stores. The expectation of living that pledge is still going to exist.
AutoZoners always put customers first. We know our parts and products. Our stores look great, and we got the best merchandise at the right price. That's a simple little statement, but if you apply everything you're doing to that standard, it's hard to go very wrong. Exceeding customer expectation, that's what it's all about.
We know our parts and products. Our stores look great.